Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. How you doing today? I'm Peter the Book Lover. Thank you for clicking on my channel. Right now, I'm doing the Read What You Own challenge, and I've got 15 books that I've read, and I've got 85 to go. So we're going to talk about the books that I've read, some of the books that I plan on reading in the future, and a couple other things. So let's get into this. Let's talk about it. 3, 2. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Book Lover. I'm a YouTuber where I talk about books and I talk about movies, and I have a great time doing it. Hopefully, you're going to have a great time being here as well. And I'm doing the Read What You Own challenge, and I've got 15 books down, and we're going to talk about the 5 that I recently read, and I'm going to talk about the 5 books that I plan on reading after these, and couple other things as I'm talking about this. You'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. So let's just get into the books that I've read. Let's start off with the first one. And the first one I completed for these 5 books was this one right here. This is Rebel Force, a Star Wars book, and this is Target. And this is the introduction to a 6-part series. And this was really, really entertaining. This has an assassin in the beginning of the book that's infiltrating the rebels. You know this right in the beginning because that's how this book starts. And this book winds up leading to a pod race as the book progresses. And there's a couple other things. I really don't want to give away too much about this book in case you're a person that wants to read these. But yeah, this was very, very entertaining, and I really enjoyed this a lot, and I'm glad that I read this. So that's the first book. Now, the second book I read was from the same series. This is book 2, and this is Hostage. And this is the second book in the series. Now, this actually winds up in a planet that is right next to where Alderaan used to be. Now, if you don't know Star Wars, this thing, the Death Star, blew up the planet of Alderaan. And there was a planet that was nearby where all the people that were in space at the time where the planet blew up, they were able to go to this planet, and now they're living as refugees on this planet. And it's a really interesting look at how the people are living on this planet. And it was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed this a lot. Now, a while ago, I read this book, and this is book 3, and I started on book 3 because this is the first book that I own of the series, and this is Renegade, and this is a story to where Han Solo gets accused of there's an assassination attempt on Luke Skywalker that's failed, and Han Solo gets blamed for it. And there's a bunch of adventures that are in this book, and it was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I had to kind of, after reading these 2, it really made me want to reread this one. Now, this doesn't count on the Read What You Own challenge, because my rule for the Read What You Own challenge is that I'm not doing any rereads. So this really doesn't count for the challenge, but I kind of had to reread this as I'm reading this series. Now, I was planning on reading this one, and this one is the 6th part of the series, and this is Uprising. I don't have part 4, and I don't have part 5. And I was planning on reading this, but I see that this is a connecting story, so I decided to not include this. I was going to put this in my plan, but I'm glad that I didn't, because now I know this is a arching story. So after this challenge is done, I plan on buying 4 and 5, hopefully if they have it at the used bookstore. But I plan on buying those books, and then I'm going to read the whole series later. Okay, then after that, I read this one right here. This one is these were all written by Alex Wheeler. That's who's credited, but I believe there's another author that wrote it, but she used the name Alex Wheeler as a pseudonym. But the it's titled as Alex Wheeler as the author. Now this one is episode 3, the Revenge of the Sith, and this is written by Patricia C. Reed. And this is a shorter version. There's a novel that's a little bit longer than this. This is a little bit shorter than this, although this has the whole movie, except for one part. They kind of described it in the afterthought of when they tried to make an arrest on Palpatine, and they really talked to it in an after, like it happened. They didn't describe it happening, but it was, other than that, this was really cool. Of course, I really after reading this, I actually went and watched the movie afterwards, and it really improved the movie. I liked the movie before, but I like it a lot more now after reading this. And I do plan on hunting down the full novel of all the Star Wars books. I want to read The Phantom Menace, the full novel, Attack of the Clones, the full novel, and this one. I've read all the original novels, the full novels, and they're really excellent. I really enjoyed reading the full novels of all the Star Wars stories, and this was really cool. Now, one interesting thing, when I was reading this, there was a character in here, and I looked him up, and this person right here is George Lucas. He actually does a cameo in Star Wars, and I didn't know until I read this book. And George Lucas did, and this is the only cameo that George Lucas did in any of the Star Wars movies. So, you know. Okay, so keeping with the Star Wars universe, then I read this. Now, this doesn't have a title, but this is The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader. And this is the story of Darth Vader. But you're covering all the movies. It starts off with The Phantom Menace. A little bit before The Phantom Menace, it shows how Annie wound up on Tatooine and how he wound up being sold to Watto, the Toydarian, and how he discovers C-3PO and how he put, not really too much detail on how he puts them together, but there's a little bit more detail, and it covers just his angle of what went on in The Phantom Menace. The pod race is described in this, and then it goes into the Attack of the Clones, and it doesn't describe the whole story, but just the angles from Darth Vader. And then, of course, it goes into episode 3, and it covers, Darth Vader's part of this story. And then it goes into Star Wars and the angle from Darth Vader, And then after that, it goes into Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Now, I haven't read Splinters of the Mind's Eye, but I know enough about it to know that the things that happened at that part of the book, that's what they were referencing. And then it goes to The Empire Strikes Back, how they arrived on Cloud City. There's more parts in it that's not in Star Wars. Like an interesting thing I learned about reading this is that I never thought about it before, but anybody that thought about this is, why doesn't Darth Vader use lightning force? And I found out from this book that the reason why he really can't use lightning force is because he has mechanical arms and legs and a mechanical lungs, and he's more mechanical than he is an organic human being. And the thing about it is, by him being so mechanical, it weakens him somewhat in the force. He's not as powerful as he would be if he didn't lose his arms and legs. Like Luke Skywalker only lost his hand, but he still has the rest of his body. Darth Vader is really missing a lot of his body. So, but that's the reason why he can't use the lightning force. Also, he's the one that ordered the execution of Aunt Beru and Uncle Owens in Star Wars, Yeah, and then it goes to The Empire Strikes Back, and there's some more details in The Empire Strikes Back, and then it goes into The Return of the Jedi, and this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. This was a great look at one of my favorite villains of all time. Darth Vader is amazing. I've always loved this villain, and I highly recommend this if you get your hands on it. As a matter of fact, I looked it up, and you guys could get a copy of this if you do online shopping. As a matter of fact, there's a hardcover of this that I plan on owning because I really enjoyed this a lot. And this was written by Ryder Windham. Really excellent. I really enjoyed this a lot. Now, after that, I stayed with the Star Wars universe, and I read this. This is Boba Fett, The Fight to Survive. And this is written by Terry Bisson, and or Bison. It could be Bison or Bisson. I believe it's Bisson. And this is book one of I believe a 6-part series. Maybe there's more, but I believe there's 6 books in the series. Now, you wouldn't know this other than here. Right here, you see it's got a 1 right there. And then I was looking online, and apparently there's 6 books of this series. And this book is, half of this book is based on Attack of the Clones and what Boba Fett went through when he was a young child, a 10-year-old child, and what he did after, what happens to his father and how he deals with that. And there's some really interesting adventures during his time before what happens to his father, and then there's some really interesting adventures that he has on his own. He's alone in the world and how he deals with it. This is a wonderful book. The ending is not doesn't have a grand ending. It's kind of got a meet at the end. He finds somebody, and that's how it ends. But there's more books to the series, and I really think that's really cool. Although you wouldn't know that this was a series of books if you didn't see this number 1 right there, which I didn't see. But I'm really glad that I read this. It's a lot of fun. Really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that a lot. Now, at the same time I read all these books, I've been rereading this right here. This is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. And I read this already for the challenge, and I'm not counting this for the reread, but I'm rereading it again because it was a little confusing to me when I first read this book. And it's definitely a lot better now that I'm doing a reread of this because, I know what's going to happen, and I could see things more clearly, and I know what's going on, and it really makes this book really enjoyable. This is a really great book, man. I really, really do recommend this. And, although it is a book, when you first read it, you might be a little confused because it's kind of like a mystery. This person starts off as a young boy, and there's some characters that he meets along the way, and then he winds up inheriting money, but a stipulation to him inheriting the money is that he's not supposed to know who is funding him. And you find out later in the book who is funding him, and it might be a surprise to you when you find out who is funding him. Yes, this is really great. I really enjoyed this the first time. I didn't really enjoy it the first time, but I'm really enjoying it the second time a lot more than the first time. And I'm glad that I'm rereading this. But I'm not counting this as a challenge. But by me reading this, this is making me a little bit slower on getting the challenge done. Okay, so there's that. Now let me show you the next 5 books that I plan on reading for this challenge. Now, I finished this book the day before yesterday. And I was going to make a video yesterday, but things happened. I got a little bit busy, so I haven't made the video. But I've read some of this already. And this is Night by Elie Wiesel. And this book is really incredible so far. I'm right now at page 32. And this grabs you really quickly and throws you in the shoes of a Jewish person that's going through the Holocaust. Now, this person kind of entered into the Holocaust late. And what's really interesting is that there's somebody that was trying to tell them what was going on, and they didn't believe it because the media was being really manipulated. You weren't able to know what was going on. The government wouldn't let any propaganda or actual news of what was going on. So most people that were experiencing the Holocaust didn't know how bad it was until after. Like, I know how bad it was, and me reading this, I know where it's going. This is very powerful. This is putting you really up close to the action of what they're going through, about being hungry, about having to give up your possessions. There's one part of this book that made me cringe and had to stop for a minute. The Germans were actually using babies to throw up in the air and shoot at, and using them as target practice. And when you read that, man, it like it takes your breath away a little bit, man. And this book so far is really excellent in a dark way, and you really have emotion reading this, but not happy emotion, like sad emotion. It's like I can't even imagine what it would be like to be in this situation. But yeah, if you want to read any book, like I read the Diary of Anne Frank. That was a really good World War II book, and I also read Schindler's List, and that was excellent as well. But this is a little bit more close up to the action. Kind of reminds me of All Quiet on the Western Front, because you're really in it. Like All Quiet on the Western Front is you really feel like you're in the trenches with the soldiers and finding out what was happening and what it was like to be there. This is an excellent book so far, and it's a short one. I highly recommend that. And it says that this is the Nobel Peace Prize winner of 1986. Highly recommend this. I know it's great so far. And the next book I'm going to read is another book that's probably going to emotionally charge me, and this is Johnny's Got His Gun. And this is written by Dalton Trumbo. And this is a story about I think a World War I soldier that actually walks on a landmine, and it goes off, and he winds up losing his arms, his legs, his hearing, his voice, and his eyesight. And there is a song by Metallica, One, and I really think that's an excellent song. And that song is based off of this story and this person. And this looks like it's going to be, it's crazy that I'm reading these back to back, because these are going to really hit me emotionally hard in make me sad, but not depress me, because thank God I'm sitting here and I'm not going through these things actually, but I can imagine going through these things. Man, it's I do kind of feel the emotion of it when I'm reading this stuff, because it's like, wow, man, I can't believe. And I don't know if Johnny Got His Gun is based off of a true story, but just the thought of losing everything like that. I mean, all you have left is your soul. You can't communicate with anybody because you can't even sign people, or really a lot worse than Helen Keller, I'll tell you that. Okay, so the next book that I'm going to read is a children's book. This one I've had for a while. I have book 1 and book 3. This is book 1 of the series. Maybe this might be something that I could read part 3 as well, and later on get part 2. This is Mouse Heart, and this is written by Lisa Fielder. Now, what really brought me to this book was I've never heard anything about this. This cover is what really attracted me to this book, and this font right here. This font is awesome, and this cover is just amazing. Now, I'm a big cat guy. I love cats, and I think they're the sweetest things. But this cat right here does not look like a sweet cat. And these rats right here look like very wise rats. And I love these little mouse soldiers. I read The Tale of Despero, and I really love that book. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. This is a children's novel. If you've watched my channel in the past, you'll see that I talk about a lot of children's books. I really love children's literature. A lot of it is really fantastic. I mean, Charlotte's Web, come on, you gotta love that book. Okay, so the next one that I plan on reading is a classic written by John Le Carre. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. This is a guy that writes a lot of spy novels. Now, I really love James Bond a lot, so... And James Bond is kind of does some spy type of stuff. And this is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Now, this is kind of a older copy. It's like you see that the paper's brown, and this is the jacket's not in the best condition. But I hear this is a really fantastic book, and a lot of people that say that this is fantastic, I've actually heard other books that they like, and I could really admire their taste, man. Most people that said this was a good book has read Lonesome Dove and have a high opinion of Lonesome Dove, and I hear this is a fun book, and I'm really looking forward to checking this out. The Spy Who Came In From the Cold is my next book that I plan on reading. And the last one that I'm going to show you right here is, this one is Manhunt. This is the 12-Day Chase for Lincoln's Killer. This is written by James L. Swanson. And I have read a shorter version of this. It was called Chasing Lincoln's Killer by the same author, I believe. And it's a really incredible story. One thing that stuck with me that I remember reading is that when Abraham Lincoln got shot, he didn't die instantly. Now, when I was a kid growing up and learning about Abraham Lincoln died by being assassinated, I always thought that he died instantly. No, he actually spent 8 hours with a bullet in his head. He probably didn't feel the thing because he was out cold, but it's interesting that he lived that long with a bullet in his head. And yeah, the book that I read before, I've read another book about the Booth brothers that was about the same stuff. And all the things that I've read about this time in history is really interesting. I've read other stuff based around the Civil War that's really interesting. This was an interesting period in American history, and this thing is really tragic, but at the same time there's a lot of action in this, and a lot of it's really entertaining. It's definitely not a boring story, especially if you look at the other things that were going on the night that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. But yeah, and I've been looking forward to reading this for a while. I've been so excited to have this book, and now I'm finally going to get around to reading it, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I want to thank you for coming by and watching my channel. It means a lot to me. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And that's about it. I am Peter the Book Lover. Thank you so much for coming by, and I hope to see you in the next video.